Hi, this is Pat Moorhead with More Insights and Strategy, and we are here for another More Insights and Strategy podcast. And it's my pleasure to introduce our guest, Scott DeBoer, Micron EVP of Technology and Products. Scott, how are you?
Great to be here today, Pat. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you really had a rocking investor day. It had been a few years since you had one, and I think everybody was really happy that you came and gave a really high degree of detail. But you know what? We're going to do a little bit of more of a double click here, okay, on what you brought out here. Where I'd love to start off is, essentially your what is your approach for product leadership? It's clear to me as an industry analyst, and I've been in this industry over 30 years. I don't want to tell everybody exactly how long, but I've seen a lot of coming and going in storage and memory. And I have to tell you, I feel like you guys are on top. So what is your approach? How did you do this?
Yeah, thanks. I've been in the industry a long time too, and we've certainly had different approaches through time and different degrees of success. And I think one of the great things about this industry event, analyst event, really was we had the opportunity to tell the story of how much progress we've had over the past 5 years, and that really is a result of our approach of really blending a global, diverse, talented team. And I mentioned then, and I truly do believe this is the industry's best semiconductor development team. And,
I love it.
It's come together across multiple parts around the world, and I think that diversity really brings in the thought and the talent that makes us unique.
Yeah, it's wild. And you did a lot of this during the COVID, which I spent 11 years in semiconductors, and I guess 10 years evaluating semiconductors, and I guess 11 years as an analyst. So I can't even imagine putting together and engineering and then fabbing a design during COVID. It blows my mind. I mean, was that a challenge for y'all?
Well, it's a great question, Pat, and I think I will agree with you going into COVID that I would have thought that many of the things that we did and were able to do likely were impossible. And we certainly had a good plan and we had a great team, and I think it reflects on the flexibility of that team and the partnerships all across the globe on how we work together, and certainly the ability to do remote calling, remote video conferences, meetings remotely, which really was just starting at Micron at the beginning of COVID. It's amazing what was able to really get done, but it did require the team to focus on new ways of doing things through this period of time.
Right. One way, it's funny, sometimes people take this for granted, but I don't, because I worked at a leading microprocessor company for 11 years. The magic when you bring up with a new memory technology. And I think a lot of that has to do, what I've seen from you is heavy duty partnerships and, dare I say, co-invention with some of your customers. Am I looking too much into this, or do you actually do this?
No, it's a great point. And I would say that's one of the differentiating things of the past 5 years is the growing partnership with many of our customers in co-inventing and in really helping us understand from the early parts in our development cycle what those products need. And that is a unique thing. And I think it's partially driven by the recognition across really the globe, but our customer base for sure, of the importance of memory and the growing importance of memory, and our ability to work with them. And of course, once you execute and you deliver some things for customers that provide them unique value, then it just kind of grows and it becomes a way of doing business. And I think that's what's happening now.
What amazes me is when a new memory technology and a new a host processor shows up at the same time. It's like, how did we get here? I get industry standards and JEDEC and all that stuff, but it's a lot harder than that. So I'm always amazed when that happens. And I remember a lot of the times some of the limitations from not having that planning done. I remember the DDR2 days,
Exactly.
crazy stuff. So, one of the things that I've learned in my travels is that the winners and losers sometimes come with product transitions, right? And I'm curious. This is another approach question for you, but how do you look at product transition and to keep the leadership going? And I mean, in one way, I could say, you're a leader in some of the most recent product transitions.
Yeah, it's another really good one. The time over, really the last decade has been a pretty interesting time with some major transitions, whether it's, multiple patterning and architecture changes in both DRAM and NAND, and ultimately, some transitions that are more operational, which was related to our increase in or improvement in cadence in terms of how fast we roll out technology nodes over a period of time to get more competitive. So we've really looked at those as the opportunities where we want to win and we want to make the right decisions. And at times those are not obvious either to others in the industry or analysts or different people why we're doing specific things. But I think we're very proud of how a number of these have played out for us, whether it's our transition from floating gate NAND to replacement gate NAND, which was frankly a pretty big bet on when we did it.
It really was. I think people were wondering, how's this gonna work out?
yeah, and I think back in some of the earlier analyst days, there was definitely some questions I was taking at that time about, okay, well, are you really going to change fundamental technology and come out in any place other than lagging the industry and technology? And I think we're very proud of how we came out of that, not just with strong products, but really a technology lead of a year or more, and some really strong end products based on that technology. So I think that's a good one, and there's others that we're proud of as well.
Yeah. So does this only apply to the here and now, or does this also apply to the future? I mean, we have a few product transitions and technology transitions coming up in the future here. Hopefully, you're going to run that same play there.
Yeah, we surely intend to. Our one of the things I emphasized at Analyst Day was really that background of our team delivering through those major transitions has given them confidence and I think a demonstrated ability that to prepare for these big ones coming at us in the future. And certainly there's product transitions in terms of architecture, AI driving different kinds of memory applications, architecture changes coming up at some point on the DRAM side, and EUV and next steps of EUV. So there's some big ones coming up, and we certainly intend to win as we go through those transitions too.
Yeah, two or three that I'm really excited about. Next generation HBM. I mean, we're all realizing that monolithic designs are in the past, and we need the highest speed memory to connect those subsystems together. CXL, I have very close relationships with all the hyperscalers, and I'm seeing how they're re-architecting their hyperscaler data centers to get ready for that next wave. But also from a technology perspective, EUV is a biggie. It's funny, I saw companies maybe 6 or 7 years ago that are like, we don't know if the value's in EUV, or we're going to wait, and they got hammered, right? But last year, you announced that you would incorporate EUV into your fabs by 2024. How's that working out?
Sure, it's that is one of the transitions that I feel quite pleased with how we've managed, and of course, we stayed very closely engaged, and we've been working on EUV for a decade with our partner, and choosing the right time for implementation for Micron. And that is one of the things that some had questioned whether we were doing it the right time or maybe a little bit too late. And I think 2024 is a time when we're going to be able to implement an infrastructure around EUV that is very capable for high volume manufacturing. And I think that based on our leadership on our 1 alpha and our 1 beta DRAM, I do believe that's partially because of us making the right call on how long to implement multiple patterning technology and when to bring EUV in.
Yeah, this is not something you want to take lightly, especially when you look at the added cost that it brings to the table. So it has to be the right time for you, and it does help remove some of the future barriers to getting to smaller geometry. So absolutely, yeah. So hey, we've talked a little bit about some of the DRAM nodes, but let's talk about your roadmap a bit. What can we expect in DRAM over the next few years from you?
Sure. I think we'll continue to drive our DRAM technology. One, to ensure that we have industry leadership in terms of cost structure and performance, and certainly that will be based on a planar DRAM extension and driving EUV into the process flow, as you brought up rightly a minute ago. And driving multiple more nodes on the planar DRAM side. More and more focus on DRAM that does enable things like CXL and HBM that you mentioned. Certainly those have significant growing importance, and we intend to be in a strong position with those advanced products and have the DRAM products to support it.
Are they going to be all EUV, or are you going to mix in some CMOS too?
So they'll be they will be a mixture of, a DRAM process flow has, many mask levels in it. And some of the critical ones will be EUV, and the most critical ones will be EUV. And then we'll still blend in a mixture of multiple patterning. So across the whole process flow, we'll have a kind of a mix of optimal times when we use EUV and when we don't.
Do you still feel, I'll put you on the spot here a little bit, do you still think you'll have a competitive advantage here?
Yeah, we're very comfortable in driving our DRAM roadmap, and I mentioned our 1 beta node coming that we'll have production on before the end of the calendar year, and we believe that will be a leadership position again. So that'll be for the next couple of years, and certainly our first EUV node will be another one where we're very focused on having leadership. Of course, it's far enough out in time that we have to execute, and I know our competitors are all very focused on closing the gap with us. So time will tell on those.
Yeah, what a market. I mean, I do a lot of market scoping, and the increase in bits in markets like automotive and compute are they're absolutely mind-blowing. And, I think if we could have gotten enough graphics chips to match with memory, we had the memory, we didn't have enough GPUs. I think we would have seen a lot more memory put on those GPUs. In fact, they actually had to pull back on some of the memory per graphics card to be able to ship lower priced configurations, because the prices of those graphics cards just got crazy. The good news is, and I don't know if this is going to be some short-term thing, I'm hoping it's not, we are getting back to sanity on graphics chips. And I think we saw in right as well, we had some people who weren't shipping with radios because they couldn't get the analog bits that they needed to be able to do this. But one thing I know for sure is that in automotive, as we increase electrification, we have standard ADAS, and we moved into autonomous driving, you're going to see a lot more memory show up in these cars, because quite frankly, when you look at even ADAS, I'm not going to say ADAS, you require a supercomputer on wheels, but for autonomous driving, you do. You do need gigaflop capabilities with a lot of memory for real-time reaction. So, hey, we've given a lot of love to memory here, but let's go into storage and NAND. Can you talk what you're doing there from a strategically to keep in the leadership space?
Sure. So, our 176 layer NAND technology was our replacement gate technology that I was discussing earlier, and that is a great node for us, and the volume of our bits, and it is a solid platform that has really led to our ability to focus on really much better end system products. And over the past 5 years, another big transformation for us has been in really having vertical integration across our NAND product portfolio in terms of optimizing our technology from the transistor level through the end system, the firmware, the IP that we put into the ASICs in our controllers, and really optimizing those. And we're starting to see several of our new products coming out now. We had our first fully internal mobile product with an internal ASIC and firmware and controllers, along with our NAND, as well as our data center SSDs coming out now with a much stronger product position. So really proud of how our team has put together a NAND product portfolio now that is the equal of the NAND technology that we've been able to do and combine those two.
Yeah, it's like firing on all cylinders here. No, listen, I've been amazed, particularly with QLC, what some of your customers have been able to do with that. And, in terms of reliability, it's amazing. And it's so funny. I think I've heard for the last 10 years that, spinning disks are going to go away. And, QLC is the next iteration of that. I think the great thing is that the entire industry keeps raising the bar in the entire storage tier, yes. Right? Memory's getting faster. NAND gets faster, and yeah, even the spinning disks still have a place. Maybe you wouldn't be surprised at how many people are still using optical for right. for backup. And Arctic, I call it the Arctic freeze systems. We're just creating so much data on this planet. You and I have both seen all the slides, and we don't want to bore people with that, but it is amazing that we keep increasing by order of magnitude the amount of data that needs to be stored. And just like we saw in DRAM, it's data center, it's PC, it's automotive. We have terabyte on smartphones, okay, which might not be sexy to somebody who's in a big desktop, but it's absolutely incredible. And you can't have a fiddler crowd design in automotive either, right? With big DRAM, big compute. Where are you going to put all that mapping data? Where are you going to put all the maps for the LiDAR, right? Where you need some longer term but low latency storage. You're going to put it on. You're going to put it on NAND. So I don't see any decrease in demand for NAND in the foreseeable future. I just literally see order of magnitude. So it's got to be an exciting place. Got to be an exciting place to be here at Micron. And maybe, Scott, we'll kind of end on, is there anything that I didn't ask that you wanted me to ask, or any final words?
Well, I think you rightly stated it's a great time to be in memory, great time to be at Micron. The opportunities ahead are really phenomenal. And you touched on automotive, where certainly we've had an industry leadership position for a number of years, but that's becoming a lot more important as automotive grows so fast and it becomes such a bigger piece of the semiconductor memory market. So that's an exciting piece for us. And certainly you touched on CXL and HBM, and we are very focused and excited to be creating products there. And it really is a place where that co-invention with customers is kind of highlighted, because those are the leading edge of how next generation computers are really going to work, and memory's a very key part of it. So we're really excited about the future, and I'm definitely happy to have the opportunity today to chat with you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Scott. And listen, everybody likes a success story, and I think to take 5 seconds and pat yourself and the team on the back. And I've been monitoring it. I wasn't quite sure how you were going to perform 5 years ago, but to the credit of the company and the leadership team and everybody busting their butt to do it, you're in a very good position now. And as long gotta make sure this market keeps going here. But thanks, Scott, so much for taking the time and adding the value to the audience for the More Insights and Strategy podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, with that, this is Pat Moorhead signing off. If you like what you heard, hit that subscribe button. Have any comments for myself? You know where to find me on Twitter. Complaints and accolades are welcome. So with that,